What's up, guys? Hey, it's Chris with another cool tutorial. I'm with CGstop. You can check us out on our Facebook, also online, and obviously our YouTube channel. So this is what we're working on today. This like Mr. Ron Surf Shop, or this effect here, this oval and the somewhat glass text. It's really simple. Even a novice, very new to this program can create this. So I'm going to show you how it's done. So I'm just going to dive right in with creating a new document here. We can call this just Mr. Ron's logo, and this is pretty much set up because I've already had this one created. But in inches, it's going to be 7 and 5, width of 7, height of 5, kind of like a photograph, And our resolution, I'll keep it at 300. There's nothing really here to turn it down. We don't want to lose the quality of it for print. So that's why I like to operate in 300, is because if you ever want to take these and print these as professional graphics, they're looking at 300 DPI, which is your dots per inch, and that's what most of those printers will print with. So anyways, we've got this new document here, this blank document with our background layer, which is white. The first thing I want to do is I want to throw out some text, and I want to use that Mr. Ron text, which it's this Harlow solid italic is the font, and I'm just going to type out Mr. Ron's, and I'm going to size that up so any size. You guys just make it to where you like it, not too big, so kind of sort of right here centered, but you have space to the right and to the left. I'm going to make this actually a copy of this, so I'm just going to drag this layer down and over my new layer, and it'll make a copy layer, and I can just turn that off for now because I want to work with just the one at the moment. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out a new layer above the Mr. Ron's text layer that's on, and if your grids are not on, Control and R will turn these grids on. So I'm going to grab from, just grabbing up here in the grid, we'll grab a line and bring it down. And I'm going to set one of my lines on top of the N here, and at the bottom of this R. And if it's not right on, you can zoom in and you'll have more control over it. They don't have to be completely perfect, but I'd like them to be. Obviously that one's off, so we can bring that up. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go up to our marquee selection, which should be, if your tool dock is like this, it's going to be probably your top tool, on both. This is my top left if you don't have it expanded. And I'm going to just make a box, kind of starting from here at the corner of the M, and bringing it all the way down here to the S, and kind of try to get the curl of the S in the box if you can. If not, it's okay. You'll see what I'm going to do here in a little bit to fix that. Once we have that, we're going to just fill that in, and I use my paint bucket to do that, and you just click and fill it in. Control D will deselect. Now that other Mr. Ron layer that we had, of the text, the copy, I want to turn that back on. So your box layer that we just did should be sandwiched between Mr. Ron and Mr. Ron copy text, which was this top one. If you go within this box where the big T is here and you double click, it'll select the text for you. And just by swapping these settings here, your colors front to back, we want to make the text white. We'll click off. Now we have the white text over top of the box. So we can see a little bit better what's going on. We don't need these lines anymore. And now I want to go back down to Mr. Ron, the one that's on the bottom now. And I'm going to Control T, which this will bring out my free transform tool. And we can just kind of adjust this, the original one, which is still black in color, around these objects, around our text here, to kind of give us that shadowy look. Once we have that, that box layer that we made, we're going to collapse that down onto the text. And what I mean by that is we're just going to flatten that by hitting Control E. So make sure you have the box layer selected and the black Mr. Ron, which should be the one on the bottom. Control E should, oh, I'm sorry, you have to select both and Control E. And that'll bring them all under one layer. Now we have the white Mr. Ron text over that black background here. Alright, so now we've got some areas here and stuff we can fill in. But the next thing I want to do is I like this curve area here. And to see that better, I'm just going to throw a stroke on my text. So if you click on Mr. Ron, the text layer, and hit Effects down here in the bottom and stroke, that puts this black line around everything, and we're going to hit OK. Just leave that on. So now we can see what we're doing a little bit better. Above the Mr. Ron's layer, I'm going to use a new layer. This will be layer 2 by default. And I'm going to grab my marquee selection. But this time, if I click and hold the button down, I can select my elliptical marquee tool, and I can draw out a circle. Now, to constrain the proportions of the circle, just hold Shift, and that kind of gives you a nice round circle. It will always stay round no matter what size you select. You know, if you choose to stretch it, it will be perfectly round no matter what, as long as you're holding Shift. Now I kind of want something about that size, and you can put this anywhere on the screen because you're going to move it around. Fill it in with black. Control D to deselect. So we kind of want something here, and I'm going to now drag this down so it's the very bottommost layer just above the background layer. And we want to kind of move these portions in, and if you hold Control on each one of these boxes, you can control, what you can do is just stretch that particular corner. So I want something that looks like that. I know it's very hard to see, but if you bring it over here, you might get a better idea of what we're looking at. Alright, so we have those two, and if we turn everything off, I can show you what we just made. We made those two like ovals, and kind of look like eggs now because we stretched the corner. Then your box over top of that. And then we have these little areas that need to be filled in. When you put the text back, you can see we want to fill that area in. And that's just, you know, very easy. Just grab your paintbrush. Make sure you have the solid brush, not the feathered brush. And just, you know, paint that in. Get it back to where you want it. You know, you might have some areas, like here we've got one. Just fill that in. I think we're good. We'll leave that kind of the way it is. Something else we could do is, I'm on the Mr. Ron part at the end here, is if you size your brush up so you can get that curl of the in it, and just kind of get up here next to it and give you that little bit, kind of make it look like it's just kind of popping off there. And I think I'm good like that. I think I like that. I'm going to leave that alone. So now, the two circles that we made in that black background box, if we hold Shift down, starting with layer 1 and then click down here at the very bottom one and hit Control E, that makes them all now one layer. The next thing I want to do is I want to go back to my text layer, the Mr. Ron that we actually left was text. By clicking and double clicking will highlight, which we're not going to do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into these effects. You can double click on the effects to bring up the effects menu, or you can just click effects down here, and this time we're going to pick the bevel and emboss, and I'm going to change the depth up to 1000. I'm going to bring the size into about, I like 8 pixels, and you can even kind of soften it a little, maybe 2 pixels on the soften for me. The next thing is your gloss contour setting, which is down here in your shading box. If you click on the little arrow next to this, it'll give you some options here. And the option I actually like is this particular box here. It's actually called Ring. If you click that, it gives you that glass, that this really cool looking like glass look almost to me. So we'll keep that on. We'll click on ring and select it. The next thing we do to make the text red, instead of actually selecting the text, is we can just do a color overlay, and the default color is red. You can change the opacity a little bit if you like to kind of dull the red down, which I did in this case, but I left mine at 90. So it's still pretty solid, but it kind of dulls the red, kind of gives you a different color. So now that we got the text out there and we got it the color we want to work back on that box, which is behind this. So right now it's called layer 1. If you name your layers and call it something else, then that's the one we want to grab. We'll click on the effects tool again. And this time we're going to gradient overlay. That way we can see our box a lot better. And the next thing I want to do is bevel and emboss. Once again, I like making the depth all the way up to 1000 and change the size. This time I'm going to do about 4, maybe let's do 5. And once again, if you play with your gloss contour settings, you can get something that looks a little different. I'm going to use this one, which it's called Gaussian. And I'll leave that open like that. The next thing I want to do is I want to put a stroke on this, I believe. Yes. And I'm actually just going to leave the default out, 3 and the opacity of 100 with the color of black. So now we've got this neat little setting here. Mr. Ron's is pretty much, set for the background. The only other thing that I did was up here, using your paintbrush and black. If you size your brush up, and I'm actually hitting my bracket keys to do this, by the way. Bracket will size, left bracket will go bigger, and right bracket will go bigger, left bracket will go smaller, and just kind of just put a little, I don't know, something here, something different, and it kind of gives you that look, and you're working within the layer itself. This is just if you want it to do it. This is for me. I kind of like that look. So, the only other thing here is working with that oval that's behind it. So we'll throw a new layer out, and this one I'm just going to make above Mr. Ron for now. We're going to have to drag it down in a second. I'm going to drag out my oval, and my marching ants show me where my oval is. We're working on that new layer. I'm going to change my color to like an aqua or a light blue, and cover everything up just with my paintbrush. Control D to get the marching ants off the screen, or deselect, and drag this down below everything and center it. And you can do that by either moving it with your mouse or with your arrow keys to be a little bit more precise for that pixel movement. You can move it pixel up, and what that is just moving it, shifting it about a pixel each time. Alright, so now that we've got that kind of centered and where we want it, once again, this is just throwing a bevel and emboss on it. And this time I kind of, I guess we can go to 1000 on the depth. And the size, don't go too crazy with the size or you'll get some weird stuff going on here, which we don't want. But probably around 7, and soften that up to about 7 as well. Alright, so to get the textured look in there, all you do here is do a pattern overlay. And this is the default pattern that comes with Photoshop, and it's been this way now since I think version 4 or something, with these bubbles. And if you scale the bubbles down to, I'd say, a 15, looks good. It kind of looks like a shiny metal in a way. If you cut the opacity down, that way it'll bring the blue back through. You can cut your opacity down. Mine's right now at 70, and I like that look at 70. The only other thing that I did with that is I threw a stroke on it, and I made the stroke about, I'd say, I did about 10 pixels, I believe. Yeah, 10 pixels. And that pretty much finished it. The only other thing that you can do is throw a drop shadow on. And under your drop shadow, I want 100% on my opacity. I want to bring the distance to 15 and then a spread and size. So you get that shadow on the upper and real dark on the lower. And always I play with those contours. This will kind of give you a different look. I believe this is the one that I use, which is the cone inverted. But we can flip through here to see if we've got anything else that looks as cool. Actually, that looks pretty neat there. It kind of actually looks like it's rised up out of the background. So I don't want it to be so intense. Now I can change my opacity down. I'll leave it at about 75, I think, here. And if on your background layer you feel like throwing a gradient, just hold down your paint bucket, gradient tool, double click up here, and grab this black to white gradient, and click and drag. And you can, go from any direction you want, from the bottom to the top, from the top to the bottom. Something like that. Let's see, we'll drag from corner to corner here, I think. And that completes it. I mean, that's pretty much it. If you wanted the little surf shop thing on here, just throw out a new text layer and surf shop. And I don't remember what text I use. If you click on your text, you can kind of go down. There it is, right there. It is heavy. What is that? Heavy hap or something like that. Heavy heap. And I did a stroke on that. And just play with the size. But there you go. I mean, it's pretty simple. A lot of fun. If you move that under the box, it'll look a little bit better. It'll get cut off by the box. But, I mean, this is easy, very simple, and it gives you a cool look. And once again, you can do this with any font. You can do this with, any name on it. It doesn't have to be Mr. Orange. It could be Joe Bob's or whatever. And, very quick, very easy, very professional logo. And since we made this in 300 DPI, you can move this onto a business card, a rack card, a poster. I mean, anything. This could go out on a billboard at 300 dpi, 300 dots per inch. And that's the setting I kind of like to work in. If you're doing internet graphics and stuff like that, obviously you don't need such an intense, dots per inch. You're not worried about print. But in this case, this is what we've got. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. These logos are very simple, and that's what I enjoy is Photoshop and making it simple for you and coming up with a really cool background. So like us on Facebook, like this video, like us here on YouTube. Check out our website. Some of these videos are up on there, and check out our website and keep coming back. We're doing a website update. I hope to kind of change the look around, make it a little bit better looking. But guys, this is for you. I really appreciate the likes. I really appreciate you guys telling me that you like this stuff. So throw out some comments. All right, have a good day.